So, you want to be crap at SD anymore? You've come to the right place. We're going to be looking at the smart blob, and the smart blob is not the normal blob where you just throw everything into a pile and then a cluster comes over and destroys everything. This is supposed to be an efficient, min-max blob that can just destroy everything. There's all these ideas you need to push in multiple spots. Just, you know what, throw it out the window. Put a pin in it. We'll come back to that later. You just want to win some easy games right off the bat. You just want to play brain dead. Broken tactics in SD, and I'm going to show you. So what you do is you grab a deck like 20th Panzer here, and you buy all your beautiful Panzer 3Ls that have 150 penetration with their APCR, 100 with the normal round. They're only 40 freaking points. Then you buy some of your beautiful Panzer 4 F1s, 30 points, heat round, 100 penetration, AP, and you just like HE galore. And then, you stick a recon tank in there because you're feeling kind of nice. You buy some MG42s to kind of screen for you, maybe some flamethrowers. And then you just throw, like, a couple squads and a Pack 40, an MG just to guard your flank. You don't care about that side of the map anyway. And then you just shove your way through here. And let's kind of look at the result here, Okay, we've moved up. There's a little cutaway there. Let's watch what this blob does. See all these defense groups, riflemen, you see a Churchill, standard blob, and then this thing just comes in. And it just mows everybody down. Nobody can shoot at you. You're taking like 0 casualties because nothing can fire in time to do any damage. Even if they get a critical in the one shot, they're going to get blown away. This you got to be careful of. So, oops. I can't click on anything. How do you deal with, like you have a blob here, like a really close CQC blob here. How do you spread them out when you start seeing clusters? Well, you grab them and you push X. And what this do is it'll give them an order to fan out like crazy. I mean, you'll see this red order, that's what it does. It's like, it just makes them go into a total circle and everybody just runs away from each other. Really smart order. It's X. You should memorize that on your keyboard. And be aware if they have clusters or not. Because if they have clusters, spread your tanks out. Have like 3 stay back and keep shooting. Have a couple move forward. Have the cheaper ones move forward. Though, the F1s and stuff. This is what you want to do. This is a smart blob. You have a defense force. Look how many forces he has. He outnumbers you here. But you're going to dominate this area of the map, which is so much harder to grab back. Like this area, okay, best case scenario, he grabs this flag, right? He swings out here. He's pretty far from his spawns, pretty close to mine. I can quickly reinforce it. There's plenty of areas to get back into the point. Over here, if you lose this hill, you're stuck on this like ridge weird freaking point. You need to build up tons of points to counterattack. You can grab key positions with this blob. And if you really want to, you can remove the blob after you've mowed everybody down. Now there's nothing he can do now. There's no amount of tanks he can buy in this position to do anything. And he's panicking. He's probably not pushing as much because he's panicking. This is what you do. This is what the blob. It's the smart blob, not the dumb blob. Dumb blob you'll see come up later, but you want to just grab everything in a pile and just keep moving it. He's got no clusters. You check what decks they have. And you just mow everyone down. And look, the whole thing's down. And you can't be stupid. This is the best. All these guys, you see even some of the extreme one, like the top 1v1s do this sometimes too. And I don't know why they do it. It's not the best move. They will, dominate right here, and they'll just keep going. Like, where do you need to go? Just defend with these points and reapply these points elsewhere. Like, you don't need to, keep attacking nonstop. You see, like, no air cover, because if you have clutch like this, then you have to spread the tanks out. But just spread them out like 1, 2 here, and you can only cluster 1 tank at a time. They're only 40 points. These D5s are 100. He needs to kill 2.5 tanks of Panzer 3s, to make up for it. So you can lose a tank to a cluster. It's no big deal. And that's what you need to do. This is, like, if I really want to, if I kept pushing even a little more. See, he's setting up M10s here. It's smart. I'm not going to go anymore. Like, I'm just going to stop here. And he's just lost really key position. He's in a bad spot. And that's it. And let's look at some of these decks that can really do this stuff. Okay, I'm going to talk about blob decks. These are decks that can do other stuff too, but they always blob. And I blob with them all the time because they're brokenly good at blobbing. Alright, so what are these decks? 20th Panzer. Why are they great at blobbing? First of all, I got these beautiful Panzer 3Ls that are broken. They're just cheap. And let's just go through them. Like, this is a good deck for blobbing. Tons of cheap tanks. You get 2 cards of Panzer 3s. Like, what? Amazing. A great blob. Just blob, blob, blob. And blob everywhere. And just blob like 3 or 4 tanks together. You'll annihilate. And let's, like, in any deck that has Panzer 3s, like 116, let's go down there. They have blob capability. Just tons of Panzer 3Ls, Panzer 4s, blob with them. Keep them in a pack of tanks, because if you run up on an AT gun with like 3 tanks, you're going to destroy that AT gun so fast it'll get suppressed instantly. It'll kill 0 tanks. That's what's so great about this tactic. You trade so much more efficiently. You cannot do this, by the way, on all maps. Like Shredrin, great map. The map we're just looking at, another good map. There are maps with certain lanes, and there's certain maps that have dead spots that are easily, like, that's where you blob. These are smart blobs. Don't get so close, you're gonna get clustered. And then just mow through everybody down. There's like nothing they can do. And if you get caught in the open by a heavy AT gun, you have 4 tanks together, boom, they're gone. Let's look at a couple more, like the Sherman decks I really want to look at. I think the real king of blobbing is third armor. Third armor, any deck with Sherman spam is freaking a blob deck. You can just buy Panzer 4A1s for days. You have 50 cals on them. If you have enough Shermans in a group together, they will suppress D5 so they can't drop their clusters. It is so broken. I mean, the Panzer 3s are great, but the freaking Shermans are gods. They can't be stopped. You have like 6 Shermans in a blob with a leader, and they have even have a commander. They're triple vet, man. They're just mowing everything down. There is nothing that can stop them until you bring out like a super heavy tank, which then you freaking just throw in a couple M10s in the blob, and there's nothing you can do. It's so nasty. So you want to. This tactic though requires you to be very thin in certain areas. And that's why I'm talking about map selection is very key to determining whether you blob. Because there's certain maps where everyone's going to push you all evenly. And a lot of times, too, a lot of players will tend to, especially more aggressive 1v1 players sometimes, they'll try to push a little, like more than one spot. So they're going to have less resources in that blob spot. And then they're just like in total panic mode once you blob through. So bring like any Sherman deck, just blob through, bring some M10s with there, get 2 Shermans, bring a leader card, just mow through everything. It's so much fun. Third mech, one of my favorite blob decks, one of the best blobs out there. Third mech, you just freaking put everything in a group together, do Q move forward, and just annihilate everybody. Sherman spam for days, you get your beautiful SU-760s, you can mix them in there, APCR 135, a little more for the Sherman penetration. You got plenty of cheap infantry to screen you, and you just drive your way to victory. That's what you do with these decks. You have everything else supporting you. Now, a non-blobbing deck. Do not try to blob with heavy tank divisions. Do not blob with stug divisions. It just doesn't work as well. You can do it somewhat, but it isn't as efficient whatsoever. So don't do it. These decks are designed for a different type of style of gameplay. You can also use 20th Panzer and other things. Like, you can still play aggressive in multiple areas. I just think it min-maxes the blobbiness because of how cheap everything is. Like, it's just so efficient with it. And you just drive down a key position and you just lock it down. And then you can play the normal game. I mean, that's really key, I think, about the game with the blob tactic. And that's why it's so freaking efficient. Now, you're probably wondering, you're going to come up against the blob all the time. How the hell do I counter it? Well, there's a couple ways. One, you counter blob. And how do you counter blob? You just zoom in on the map. You hear all the vehicles in one spot because you can before the game. And that should be patched out. I don't know why it hasn't been. And I keep saying it should be, but I've been called stupid by the league people. You should go in and immediately zoom in on the map. Zoom in and find out where they're coming from and hear where the blob is coming from. And then you build your own blob to counter the blob. Number 2 is, you kind of get where stuff's coming from. So you need to then push. You need to be able to just play super defensive in that key position and be able just to stem it, not like beat it, but like slow it down so that you can run over other areas and make up the difference. Because that's what you got to do. On some maps, there's no option though. You have to fight for certain positions. Like Shredrin, you have to fight for that main road. There is no choice. You have to. If you lose it, that's the game is decided right there. You can go around it in some areas, but not effectively, and not against a really good player. I mean, also, this is a really good early game tactic. I will not recommend. It's risky too, because if things go wrong with the blob, like you get too close to batched up in an area, and you just lose all your tanks at once, or you get off mapped really badly. It can be game ending right there. Like, the game could be over. It's really an early game decider whether you're gonna win or not. It's really strong against people who like to go balance. I think if you're playing like a Maverick. You can kind of re-instigate the blob and B-face. You grab a whole bunch of tanks, just drive down the road, and they just have overwhelming firepower screened by infantry. I mean, this is what you want to do. You want to pair tanks together. I don't like this. I've been seeing a lot of it where people have one or two, like one tank by itself, kind of defending in there. Like defending an area is fine, but like going on the offensive and being the spearhead, only one tank. One really, you're not going to be trading that effectively doing that. Like two, you want to pair your tanks together, if you can. You really want to try to, because if there's only one tank and you come up with and you have two, they penetrate you, you penetrate them, and the second tank kills them too. So you still have both your tanks alive, and that guy is down a tank. And sometimes you get lucky and you don't take any damage, and they die instantly. So you want to you really got to be careful with that. Don't do it in stupid areas. You cannot do this in like a city map down a road. It's a really good player. They'll bring Panzerschrecks. Panzerschrecks are super, popular. Even if you mow through the town, you'll lose so many tanks that you're negative in that trade. That's not great. You should watch out for that type of stuff. And Shermans are the best for this, I believe, in general. I mean, maybe not the best, because Panzer 3s and the Panzer 4s are pretty good at it too. And I'm talking about the F1s, the one with the heat rounds. But the Shermans have these 50 cals that they kind of just suppress everything, and it's kind of ridiculous. And if you decide to play third armor, most of your infantry has half tracks with 50 cals, so they're just suppressing all enemy aircraft. The clusters can't even get close. D5s have no shot at it. There's just nothing you can do. If you see it coming, remember, push that X bar. You'll spread out all your tanks. If they're in the middle of a tank fight, immediately spread them out. Doesn't matter, because if they kill one tank, they kill one Sherman. That D5 still has not made up its cost of 100 points yet, even though you lost it. So if it comes back around and you shoot down, you're already back positive. So don't worry about losing one tank, especially like the German, like cheaper tanks. So just, don't go crazy. Like, don't get them so CQC orientated where like you can get hit by artillery. I just want to keep mobile too, because some players are bring artillery and you don't want to get too close with all your tanks. But you just have to react with it, like, and know what your opponent's bringing. If he's got no clusters, there's no fear of anything. You can just drive through everybody. So anyway, this is just a quick guide of the blob warfare. I believe in blobbing smartly, but effectively. Don't be one of those people that puts them all in a little box and a easy target for a cluster to kill everything, or a mortar to kill everything. But definitely utilize it, because it's really strong to drive heavily down one road. There's nothing you can do against it, really. You're just going to overwhelm their forces. And you want to pick a spot that's key, like that can cover a lot of areas. There's a lot. You'll just look at the map and be like, hey, where can I grab the most amount of flags? Where can I cover the most area doing that as well? And push that area, and where your deck's going to be most utilized. I see a lot of guys pushing areas that make no sense. The others, like you'll see a tank deck fighting in CQC combat in a town when there's an open area, and you'll see infantry decks fighting in the open against tank decks when they should be fighting in that town. You make the opponent fight in those areas and those locations, and bring decks for those locations. Don't bring a deck that's going to be out in the open when you shouldn't be. I think there are divisions designed for certain things. So anyway, that's all I have to say. Thanks for watching, guys. Leave a like, leave a comment. I'll bring up some more tactics in the coming future, a little more in depth later on.